We're getting to get 5 red lights. Couple of different strategies up in here. It says wet, but it seems like there's a lot of drivers on dry tires. And they're driving like it's on dry tires. We get five red lights, and we're underway for the first round of the F1 Intercore Championship. Already had a couple of spinners back there. Hopefully no damage. So even though it is Inter's conditions, I believe everyone is... I believe it is dry weather for everyone else apart from me. Just get on board. Yeah, it says rating for us. Or maybe this is a strategy. I have no idea, to be honest with you. It looks like... Does anyone know if it's actually wet or if it's dry? And everyone's just decided to go for dry because it's not wet enough yet. It would have been ballsy for someone to go start on the Inters. To be fair, it looks like it's in dry conditions. We're still on board with Darville. As he gets us underway for this first lap. He's got Howarth on the back of him. So Howarth and Beck have actually gone up quite a few places off the start. Up to P2 and P3. If they've jumped Morgan and... Morgan, who else was up there? I can't even remember who was up there. We get a green flag. Someone's gone for a spin. That's Gibbo, and he's fallen right down the order. As we get the driver leaving the session. I think they've had a disconnection issue. Everyone chooses to stay out. So I'm just going to assume it's dry. They aren't just driving in the Inters weather for the fun of it. Around they go. Darville's still leading. He's on a medium compound. He's Howarth doing his best to stay with him on the harder compound. So he's doing well at the moment. Moving further down the order. On board with Jackson. That's just ahead of him is Lee and Morgan switching places. Lee up to P4 now. Obviously would have been helped on the medium compound, the softer compound, to the hard tyre. Currently we've had no safety cars as of yet. And Gibbo has come into the pits for into tyres. So maybe this isn't just a visual glitch and it is actually wet. They couldn't pick the wet tyres. No, I don't believe that. That is jokes, to be fair. Yeah. Very, very interesting. So already very interesting start to this race. But yeah, we'll head back. Oh, it seems I just battled just behind these lot here. It's Danny, Hill, and Bell, I believe. As Darville does another fastest lap of the race. This is our closest battle, and Danny right behind Hill. Thinks about the dive bomb into turn 1. Obviously, very tricky conditions for these drivers now, and wouldn't be surprised if they start boxing for Inters very soon. Blakey's in the pits. Maybe he's on 4 Inters. Danny's still looking at this move done. Looks like he's actually faster than Hill, despite Hill being on the softer compound. Maybe a bit more confidence in these wet conditions. I feel like this could end in tears. Lee's actually made his way past Beck as well. Has jumped up to P3 from P4. I'm doing my best to look at the closest battles on track. We'll go on board with Pavies. He just goes a bit wide there. He was close to the back of Walters, but has since lost that. And I think we just missed the overtake between Bell and Danny. Oh, sorry, Danny's had an issue and Bell's managed to get by. So Bell's now up to P10 on his debut race. With a really close battle. It was actually Donovan's on the back of Pavey. As Lee just sets the fastest lap of the race. Has Lee equipped a wet setup, and is that why he's doing so well right now? Go back down. Looks like Hill's had a bit of a spin and now get overtaken. Bit of frustration of the tyres there. Pavey's had to give the position back to count the legal overtakes that he overtook under yellow flags. Unfortunate, but he's got back underway now. We've managed to get Donovan back in. Hopefully he can take control of his car and get back underway. And that's Beck coming into the pits now. That's one of the first front runners boxing for the Inter compound. And you know what? I can't blame him. Unless this weather's going to dry, which I don't think it's telling me if it will or not. I don't know what those weather graphics are. It doesn't really tell me much other than, yes, it's currently raining right now. Then, yeah, this could be massive for Beck. We'll see just how much quicker he is than the dry tyre drivers. I mean, he's just come out ahead of Pavey, who's on the hard compound, and he should just pass Donovan. Yeah, Donovan's car will ghost until he retakes control of it. But back up to P11, and I have to see if our race leaders will begin to start hitting. So Jackson and Morgan opting for the same strategy. And I've got to say, these two drivers are very similar in driver ability, which is great for a team, but also bad for the strategy because they can't really box at the same time. They're both on the hard compound, so one will have to go a lap longer, or they'll get held up in the pits. We'll see if either of them choose to box now. They're all staying out on dry still. I've got to say, it's definitely one of the more interesting races that I've got to commentate on. They're both staying out once again. But P4 and P5, they're just using a DRS to assist each other where they can. And hopefully just burn the ERS for the guys that are in front. And then when they need to recharge, just switch that rotation. Speaking of drivers under threat right now, Spinsy has got Dickerson all over the back of him. Now, he may have been one of the drivers that that is using a wet setup. Only because I left that as a helpful hint for him. Not that I knew it was going to be raining, but I know how effective the wet tyres are. But the wet setup is in wet conditions compared to the dry. I think we had Bell on the back of Beck there. But no, sorry, Beck actually passing Bell. So yes, the Inters is the tyre to be on, definitely, 100%. Donovan's coming, boxing it in. So's Pavey, so's Hill, so's Blakey. And yeah, you can actually see how much faster it is. I feel like Blakey's actually jumped Hill because of that decision to box a bit earlier. So these guys up ahead are probably going to be struggling. There is a car. This is the other Alpine. That is Barber. He's clearly he's not having a great debut race weekend. And that's Blake. It's retired from the session, so a safety car's been called. So all those drivers that stayed out on the dry is now choosing to box for the Inters for free at the last corner. And I'll tell you what, Jackson is ready to attack. He is ready to attack Darville here. He was not ready to attack Darville. Darville gets us back underway, and further back it is Lee who is trying to get past Morgan into turn one. I think he's going to do it live. He's got so much better grip on those Inter tyres. And that is Lee up into P3's. Halve going to try and follow through. Oh, Lee actually has a bit of a mare there. Maybe he overtook too soon and he's given the position back. Either that or he had a very sloppy turn one. Morgan able to retake the position. Now Halve trying to go down the inside of Lee. Both of these guys on the Inter tyres. And still nothing but Lee with superior traction. Now going side by side with Morgan. Morgan managed to stay ahead for now. It was only a matter of time. These two Inter runners are all over the back of Morgan. And Morgan is very much just holding them up at this point. Going around the middle sector now. And they're pushing. They're pretty much pushing Morgan around. Halve's going to try and go around the outside of the lead. Halve, while this battle's going on, still going to try and find it. Lee goes down the inside of turn 10 and moves up into P3. Halve follows him through up to P4. Morgan's going to fall down to P5. Oh, and that's an Alpine that's gone into the... There's Dickerson that's gone into the back of Morgan. It's gone into the back of Halve. And that promotes Walters up into P4. So, yeah, a collision is definitely going to be reviewed by the stewards between those three there. Walters, the benefactor, up into P4. That's disappointing for Halve, who was on the back of third place and pushing. And that's Jackson now that's pushing Darville. That's something you don't see every day. And they're going to go side by side through turn one. A little bit of contact with the side pod there. And Lee is... Oh, he is going to pick up what is left over. And I'm assuming he's going to get absolutely send up one of these corners. He's going to choose to take the outside line, get superior exit. As Johnny checking it's a 5-second penalty for speeding into pit lane. Lee gets put onto the grass there. So maybe a bit too aggressive from Jackson on the defense, or maybe a bit of a too opportunistic move from Lee. But now it seems like he's not pushing Darville as much, giving Darville a bit of breathing room. But you really want to keep that pressure going. And now quite a few drivers choosing to pit for the dry tyres. even though it's definitely still inter conditions. Personally, I would have boxed for inters and just waited for the dry weather. Is Lee going to get by Jackson this time? Not this time round. Once again, just absolutely pushing the gearbox. Still going round. And Jackson's going to get this move done on Darville, surely. Surely he's all over the back of him. And Lee's there as well. They go 3 wide into turn 1. Lee's on the left of Jackson. Jackson just behind Darville. He's going to try and go around the outside of both of them. Maybe a bit too wide. Jackson taking the inside line. Stays ahead. Well, Jackson does not stay ahead, actually. Lee's ahead of him now, but Darville stays ahead of Lee. And they're going to get back underway. A couple of 5-second penalties going out for drivers speeding into the pit lane. But now Lee all over the back of Darville. It's still raining. It's just 10 minutes of rain is it's quite mad. I mean, if it's only 10 more minutes, then I don't know if Lee's going to be able to build up a big enough gap to Darville, who he is now pushing round. Still going, that's Darville. Ooh, it was Darville in the gravel, but I believe it was just a bit of a connection issue there. But Lee still all over the back. He's actually got the move done. Has he got the move done? He has not got the move done. There is definitely a bit of connection issues between us and the server. So all these times I thought Lee was getting by. He is not getting by. Let's move on to a different fight for now. As Pavy's moved up to P8. That's a driver we've not really seen much. Maybe he's benefited from a couple of crashes earlier on. But currently sitting P8, just behind Gibbo, who's still on the hard tyres in P7. So Gibbo's strategy is currently working. But I like to think he's usually got more pace than Pavey, so it is still Inter's the better tyre to be on. And there is a move for the lead. Lee and Darville battling hard, and it looks like Lee's finally got that move done. One of these two drivers has got massive... It looks like Darville's got massive internet problems. Is that him off? Is that him actually off? No, it isn't. It isn't. He has just lost a position. All right, we will we'll watch out for that one. But Lee up into the lead now in P1 and leading for the first time this season. As further down the grid, Spinsy has made the move on Walters. Spinsy on the inside, but it goes into the gravel. And Walters is going to try and retake that position. Bit of contact with Spinsy and loses a few positions there. And Howard going to say thank you very much. He moves up to P8. It's unfortunate for Walters as he moves back out, well, down to P9. The Pavey on the back of Gibbo. And Gibbo chooses to come into the box. He decided he must be boxing for Inters. He's decided this rain that's going to last 10 minutes is going to last the entire time. And he is now coming into the pits. Back on board with this fight between Morgan and Pavey. Morgan's going to have the DRS. He's close enough. Is he close enough to get the move done? Darville takes the fastest lap of the race, and Lee says, no, I'll take that, thank you very much, as he is chasing downhill. Well, it could be uphill, but I mean chasing downhill at the moment. And Howard takes the fastest lap of the race. So this track clearly ramping up and getting drier and drier. Morgan now up into P8 has got the move done on Pavey. Dickerson still on the back of Spinsy. No movement yet, but another driver on the back of Hill getting ready to pass. It's Lee. He wants to get a move on. Because maybe Jackson's actually catching up with Darville, because Darville's chosen to put the hard tyres on. So Jackson choosing to opt to the hard to start with. It's actually worked out, and he really, without that 5-second penalty, he really could have ended up winning this race. But now, I believe he's going to start struggling. As the yellow flag, I believe that's for McLaren of Bell, has retired from the race. And Jackson sets the fastest lap of the race. He's hunting down Darville at the moment, and Lee's got the move done on hill. On board with Howarth, as he's now pushing Dickerson around. Is he going to get it done on the banking? No, he's not. Can he get a better exit? That was a swooping turn from Howarth there. Jackson's almost within DRS of Darville, almost. But Howarth is right behind Dickerson. He's got much more straight line speed, it seems like. Or maybe it's just fresher tyres. It could very much just be fresher tyres. I don't know which overtake's going to get done first, this one or the one between Pavey and Morgan. Half now going to get the DRS. Can he get this move done here and now? It's now our 4th retirement of the race. 13 drivers left running. All you need to do is finish in the top 10 for points. And remember, fastest lap point goes to anyone. Anyone inside the top 20. Well, anyone in any of the drivers. That's what anyone means. And Howarth is right behind Dickerson. And yeah, he's going to get that overtake done with a DRS. ERS as easy as you like. And I suspect Morgan's going to do something similar to Pavey. No, he's not anywhere near him this time round. But Dickerson and Howarth, that seems like that battle is done for now. And Howarth should start to pull away. A battle that's very much not done is Jackson against Darville. Obviously, with the 5 seconds, Jackson will fall behind Darville. But until that happens, Jackson might as well push it. He's used up all of his ERS to get there. But one thing Lee will be hoping for is maybe Jackson gets by Darville. They fight maybe a bit too hard, and Lee can catch up because Lee doesn't have that penalty. $11 laps left to go in this race. Won 25 out of 36. About to end 25. And Jackson on the back of Darville now, really close to him. Activates a DRS. Darville goes defensive, but there's nothing he can do. The overtake gets done halfway down the straight. And Jackson up into P1. He's had the tyre strategy down to perfection. If only he could have broke a little bit more for the pit lane, then maybe we would have this race win. To be fair, he could still get this race win. If he pushes now, gets out of Darville's DRS, and starts pulling half a second a lap, he could win this race. He needs a 5-second gap to Darville to win. But he won't be able to do that if he can't get Darville out of his DRS. But someone that is approaching Darville is Lee, 2.7 seconds. So maybe Lee can win this race. Maybe they've got this tyre strategy down to a T. Howarth now caught up to the back of Spinsey, who's running in P5. It's one of the best positions he's run in. And also Hill running in P4 is one of the best positions he's run in as well. So, maybe this new game favouring some of the, some drivers more than others. Because Hill, definitely a big improvement on the start of last game, definitely. And same with Spinsey as well. He's really come out as being one of the AMS's fastest driver. But he's not going to be able to do much from Howarth. He does have DRS from Hill, but Howarth is looking. He's got more ERS, and he's going to look to get it moved done into turn 1. Does well. They go side by side. A little bit of wheel bump in there, a little bit of contact. But Spinsey thinks better of it and is like, even if it's P6, it's still a good amount of points. Howarth moves up to P5, Spinsey down into P6. Next up for Howarth is Hill. I'm surprised that Morgan hasn't been able to get past Pavey yet. I imagine Morgan's on much older tyres than Pavey. Because Morgan was one of the top qualifiers. So he should have the pace, but it just seems like he's struggling on these mediums. So I imagine he hasn't got a lot of grip left in them. I was just trying to get them to the end of the race now. Go back on board with Howarth, who is right behind Hill. Looking to take that P5 and maybe anything else. Hill holds on to the position for now. Maybe Howarth was thinking, I'll tell you what, I won't get him here. I'll get him on the start-finish straight. But there's a couple of drivers coming through now. Dickerson is on the way as well to try and get Spinsy. And Howarth is going to go down the inside on Hill, just like he did to Spinsy. And Howarth is now up into P4. Crucially, Jackson has actually got Darville out of his DRS. Darville's doing what he can to try and stay within it. Maybe using a bit of ERS as well. But that's the only thing that's going to keep Darville to win this race right now. Is because of Jackson's 5-second penalty. That DRS is keeping Lee at, arm's length. Is that DRS? No DRS then. So it looks like he may have done it. But he really needs to put some good laps in now. And it's Spinsy and Hill now fighting. Spinsy trying to get around the outside of Hill. Hill looks like he had to do a correction into Spinsy there. And has gone spinning. Spinsy after P5. Hill possibly down and out. But not quite out the points. P9. It's still a bit of gap to Walters. But yeah, it's gone right down there. On board with Pavey now, the other AMS driver. He's not actually too far behind the other Med Bull. But Morgan is catching. Well, he has been catching for some time now. He has not caught him this time round. But it seems like that red light on the back of Pavey's car, you can see flashing. That means he's harvesting. He's only got 10%. He's got less than 10% battery left. So it puts the car into harvesting mode. So that's how we know he hasn't got a lot. And he's surely going to get passed by Morgan at any moment now. Darville has got back within DRS of Jackson. And he is hanging on in there. So it looks like, especially with how the tyre wear goes, it will probably favour Darville more than it will Jackson now. Yeah, I think it's going to pull Darville to the win for this race. It looks like Jackson has got a big enough gap to Howarth to take P3, but he will fall behind Lee if Lee stays at the gap that he is. Go back on board with Morgan and Pavey. This is the overtake that's going to be happening very soon. So gap's about 4/10. Maybe Pavey's running a bit more, or a bit less wing. Trying to get top line speed. Morgan is now going to try and get around the outside. Pavey goes defensive into turn 1. Tries to hang it out just about. They go side by side still. Pavey tries to stick in there. Can't do it. Morgan up at a P7. Pavey down to P8. Brilliant driving there from the two. Good racecraft. Get around these turns without any contact. Even if it's just bumping tyres, it's difficult stuff. But these two drivers have been able to do it this time round. But I wouldn't say Pavey's quite out of the fight yet. They're both on the medium compound, and Pavey looks like he's still with him. But they are both approaching Dickerson as well. So maybe they can start getting him involved at the end of the race. There's 6 laps left to go. And maybe another position or a couple of other positions for them. Let's say fastest lap from Jackson. He's doing what he can to pull away from Darville, but surely he's not going to be able to do it. And they're just pulling away from Darville. I guess Jackson's now trying to pull the gap away to Lee. Because with his 5 seconds, he'll... it's 4.3 seconds at the moment. 7 more tenths, and then he will hold on to second. That'll be more points for the Remy, who are still probably in the best position to get the most amount of points. With both their drivers being in the points, P1 and P7. And it's not over yet. Driver is catching up, though, is Walters, who's catching up to Hill, who had that collision. Not sure if it's left him with wing damage or not, or any sort of damage, as it is on standard, so there is possibility of side pod damage. But he is within that DRS zone now. So next time they get to the DRS, he'll be able to activate it, and I'll give him at least an extra 20 kilometers per hour on the straight. It's not a massive straight, this first DRS zone, but you only really use it to try and get as close as you can to the man in front. Then it's the start-finish straight where you really can abuse that DRS, especially because it's an earlier detection zone now than it was last year. No movement yet, but some movement might be happening. Is Darville on Jackson? No, it is not the case, and Jackson can't really pull away from Lee this lap, so it looks like Lee is going to be able to hang on in there. If not, these two go for any sort of moves towards the end. It seems like Darville's still going to win anyway. And now it's Walters on Hill. Can he get the move done? Walters goes defensive into turn one. Hill goes defensive into turn one. Walters down the inside, hugs that inside line. Maybe a bit too much. And Hill's been able to get the exit. And Hill still ahead. 4 laps remaining. The battle for P9. And that extra point is on between the AGC and RAC driver. And what a move from Walters down the inside of turn 4. Absolutely fantastic. Caught Hill completely unaware. I think Hill actually went a little bit wide on the curb there as well. But Walters up at a P9 for the AGC. Smashing driving. Back on board with our 2 front runners. Darville's probably close enough and has enough ERS to go for a move, but I think he's just choosing not to. I believe that's Donovan. He's keeping out the way there. At least he's stuck in there. Oh my word, we all I really thought we were going to have a crash there. Like an actual program crash on the last 3 laps. I really didn't need that. So Hill's got the DRS on Walters, but it doesn't seem like he's got enough ERS to get the move done. Just enough to get close. Yeah, so 4 laps left. And our closest battles is Hill and Walters for the bottom end of the points, and Jackson and Darville at the top end of the points. I guess Lee is involved in that battle as well if we're doing time trial with Jackson's penalty. I don't think Howard's going to be able to catch up to it. It was a yellow flag there, but I think it's just Donovan letting some drivers by. But still, this race is not over yet. There's still definitely some positions that could go one way or the other. So our front 2 getting very close to each other. Let's see, Jackson very close to Darville now. Sorry, Darville very close to Jackson. But still no move. All waiting. So Darville doesn't have a massive amount of ERS, it seems like. Just enough to stay out of 10%, maybe like 30 or 40% it seems from his wheel. But yeah, just staying close enough to Jackson. Lee's gotten a bit closer to these two. Not massively, not anything that's going to change the result. But yeah, still on. And sorry, there has been a move between Morgan and Dickerson. They're actually battling right now, side by side, these 2 drivers. Absolute scenes there. They were, well, Dickerson had 1 tyre on the in the gravel, but Dickerson's going to come straight back at him because Morgan decided to do the overtake right before the start finish straight DRS zone. And Dickerson now back up into P6. But Morgan's not left there, and I think that this is a battle that's going to go to the end of the race. All this battling may have triggered Pavey. He'd be like, oh, I'll tell you what, I could pick up some scraps here for the Med Bulls. But Morgan still wanting to get some more points on the bottom. I mean, his teammates up in P1 currently, maybe dropping down to P3, but he'd want to help out his teammate a bit more, maybe move up to 6th. I think that's probably the best what he can get, best position he can get at this stage of the race. With 2 laps left to go, as we're about to go on to the last lap of the race. We're back on board with Darville, and he's gonna get the move done for the lead. So even he's not sure of that 5-second standard. He's left it until the final lap to get the move done. That's one of the final overtaken places. So he just sat there comfortably, waited and bided his time. And said, oh, no, I'm not going to wait for you. Morgan can't get the move back done on Dickerson. It seemed like he put all his eggs in one basket with that last move, and has got nothing left to give. And it seems like this is how we're going to finish, despite maybe a couple of penalties coming a few drivers' ways for certain incidents. But Darvel looks like he's going to win this race with Jackson right behind, maybe dropping down behind Lee. Yeah, it's been a race full of crazy strategies, to be honest. I'm surprised the drivers weren't able to pick into tyres, because that was definitely the best tyre to be on. But they can only do so much. And Darvel's now going to cross the line on lap 36 out of 36 to win the race. Jackson in P2. Lee's going to come across the line in P3. Not sure if he's actually jumped him or not yet. Howth in P4. Brilliant recovery drive for him after a few incidents. Spinsy for the AMS in P5. His best finish. The Dickerson and Morgan coming up to the line. And Morgan has jumped ahead of Dickerson, but he's got the 5-second penalty, so he falls back behind Dickerson and Pavey down to P8. Walters coming across the line in P9. Brilliant drive for him, getting those crucial 2 points for the AGC. And then Hill finishing in P10. Disappointing day for the RLC drivers on our reigning core champions in P11 and P12.